Shall I say former IAS officer because your resignation hasn't been accepted yet? So
yeah, if you're asking me, yes, former IAS officer.
yeah.
If you're asking the government, then I think they'll have a different answer. What the government is doing is wrong. It is not in line with the democratic spirit. But you are not saying what is right. So that was actually a journey to understand what is right. You as a citizen have a right to ask anything from the government, and the government is duty bound to answer.
Why do you think Congress is the right place for someone like you? Why did you join Congress?
Somebody actually told me that, Kannan, you may agree or not agree, but you are a Congressee.
So, did you get to meet Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition?
Yeah,
How was it?
It's very, very good. It was very...
How did you find him? What was the conversation, if you can reveal?
No.
Dear viewers, welcome to Lokmat Times. I am your host Tejas Joshi. मुसाफिर के रस्ते बदलते रहे, मुकद्दर में चलना था, चलते रहे. Why am I reciting this Bashir Badri line? Because the guest that we have today has lived quite a similar life. A boy from Kerala, a state topper for that matter, in board exams, then a gold medalist in his engineering, then a corporate employee, then an activist, perhaps someone teaching kids in the slums, then an IAS officer, then again an activist, and now a full-time politician, a congressman. Please welcome Kannan Gopinathan. Shall I say former IAS officer because your resignation hasn't been accepted yet? So
yeah, so I think that will depend on, if you're asking me, yes, former IAS officer.
yeah.
If you're asking the government, then I think they'll have a different answer.
So recently you took a very big decision. You joined the Indian National Congress, the grand old party. Why Congress? Why do you think Congress is the right place for someone like you? Why did you join Congress?
Yeah, so it took me a while actually. As you know, I resigned in 2019. And at that point of time, what I felt was that there has been a generic downslide, of the democracy. That whole, somewhere we have taken a wrong turn or a U-turn from our journey to becoming better citizens. I consider our independence movement as much as a movement for freedom, as much as, as it was a journey from subject to citizens. We were subjects. So Praja, and from there we were slowly becoming citizens. And that was a journey that I wanted to be part of through the government. What I observed was that we suddenly taken a complete U-turn, right? And we started moving back. Wherein government are saying that we will give you some deliveries, certain things, you receive them, be happy about it. If you're unhappy, just keep quiet. Don't ask any questions, don't demand anything else. Just be the good subjects that you were when the kings were here, right? So we used to have good kings, we used to have bad kings. But at the same time, we were always good subjects. Praja Hamesha, we were always good. So that journey was what I kind of triggered me, and the manifestation of that was actually what happened after 370 in Kashmir, right? The complete lockdown, where everybody was told that you don't have any rights actually, and it can be anytime suspended. You don't have any right which is intrinsic to you. So it's that is from where I resigned. And after a while, I was traveling. I was part of CAA-NRC movement, maybe in a small way in the farmers. Then much of the traveling was about, people are asking me, you are saying what is wrong, right? You are saying that, okay, this particular government is doing is wrong. It is not in line with the democratic spirit. But you are not saying what is right. So that was actually a journey to understand what is right. I came about my own understanding of what it means to do politics in this country, what should it mean to have governance in this country. And all my answer came to that the government should be enabling better citizenry, right? In terms of better citizenry means more empowered citizenry. A citizen who does not have to self-censor, a citizen who should be able to criticize the local station house officer, who is the CI, as much as a Tahsildar, or as much as he or she can criticize the Prime Minister, right? That freedom should be there. If we cannot do that in India, where can we do? Once that part was clear, then of course I was also discussing with a lot of Congress leaders who were working with Congress, etc. And at some point of time, somebody said, what do you think UPA did? So the most of the acts that were there in the UPA, except, you can take a lot of infra and other development things that happened in UPA, but core thing that happened was UPA brought out a lot of right-based legislations, right? Okay. So right to information. What actually changed? It changed that people who otherwise had to request and beg for information from the government, give reasons, or you had to take a collectorate march of 5,000 people or a secretariat march of 5,000 people going to the secretariat to ask for information. With one law, it said that you as a citizen have a right to ask anything from the government, and the government is duty bound to answer. Right? That is a journey from subject to citizen. Right? That's an empowered citizenry. You take a look at any other right to education. It came as a right. It did not come as a government scheme. Right to work, that what we see as Narega, it did not come out as a scheme. It came out as a right to the citizen that I have 100 days work that I'm rightfully supposed to get. Right? If I don't, then I can move court. It's a justiciable thing. Similarly, right to food, what we see now as an 80 crore ration being given. So what is a framework that is being done there? So that framework was essentially enhancing the citizenship, empowering the citizenship, taking this journey from subject to citizen to a more meaningful conclusion. What happened after 2014? Or this is a complete journey which is backward. Your RTAs are diluted, your information commissioners are not. You look at the recent IT rules, you take a look. So once this discussion happened, then it was again clear that from the time of independence to till recently, the Congress governments have more or less at times slow, at times fast, but taken this direction, this country in this direction of subject to citizen, that kind of a journey. Its direction is very clear. If once it's clear that yes, overall this is the direction that I also want to go, and the ideology is also very clear, that the party ideology is also very clear. And somebody actually told me that, Kannan, you may agree or not agree, but you are a Congressee. So that also got to me thinking that am I being worried too much about the label? That being called this pride thing that I'm an independent person, X, Y, Z. My criticism has nothing to do with any political parties. I'm standing.
But when you say Congress is only party where you can have a freedom of speech in governments of Congress, you have freedom of speech. The values of Constitution are protected. But then people come up with things like it was only Congress that imposed emergency.
Absolutely.
Or they say that even in Congress, are leaders allowed to criticize, say, Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi? So is there even internal democracy in Congress when you are talking about it?
So emergency is definitely, right? So that journey, and I think what the country or the nation or the people taught was at that point of time also that this kind of emergency or an anti-constitutional measure will not be acceptable in this country. And people have come out, protested, and Congress has also taken a clear-cut understanding from that lesson. Has taken a lesson that the journey that people want is this direction, and this is what Congress also stood for, right? So essentially, this journey after that, you take another 40 years of that. It is 77, right? We are in 26, around 50 years, 49 years gone after that. What has been the direction that the party has taken? The party has taken a very consistent, where it says freedoms have to increase. If today you have X freedom, tomorrow your freedom should be more. It should not be less. That has been the consistent framework in which it has worked. At times, we were also not happy because the speed with which this should have happened may not have happened. So you would see a lot of NGOs at that point of time protesting, criticizing the Congress government, saying that you're moving in the right direction, but you're not moving at the pace that we want you to move. Right? But at least you're moving in that direction. Now, till then, our criticism was that. Now, once you understood that there could be other governments which can take you in completely opposite direction, now you would rather be in that direction and try to augment the speed rather than be in the opposite. In terms of the party with respect to the criticism, I think there is enough and more discussion which happens in the party, outside of the party also. So many people.
But who has the decision-making power in Congress? Whose call is considered as final decision? Who takes that call?
No, that's again a very. First of all,
because since we are talking about it, BJP has been considered as top two are the final bosses, that they take the decision. But Congress is not very much different in that context. Even the decisions are taken in Congress by Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, and if Mallikarjun Kharge is consulted, then that is quite similar when you see the structure of the party.
No. Okay. First of all, it may be too premature for me to comment too much into the Congress structure. I've been hardly 5-6 months. But from what I've observed, it's not the same. This understanding of somebody who is at the top, who has to take all the decisions, this come from, again, a very complete right-wing understanding of politics. Right? There are two kind of, I see the people. One who would like to just obey, do, and hopefully if you do good, then you would like to be promoted in a very structured right-wing way, right? That is irrespective of any cadre-based parties will always be like that. There will be somebody at the top, you have been directed to do certain things, you will do those things, and you don't ask questions. So whereas the large part, another half of the world is like this, where you have a group of individuals, each of them are largely aligned on an ideology, but all of them have very highly independent opinions on what is the best way to achieve those goals. So larger we'll say we'll all want a constitutional democracy. But if you ask two people, they will have completely different ways on how it can be reached. And those values, and they will fight for it. That fighting, that disagreement is not considered in any way negative. Right? It's not like, if I have to say this two direction. There was a recent, not recent, I think of the 2019 Balakot thing was there, no?
Yes.
Where I think 6 months after that, Prime Minister Modi comes on an interview and says that Badal, the cloud, radar fayda utha sakta hai, that Badal tha, abhi hum aaji. So this was a very crucial decision of whether to strike or not on a particular night, right? And here there is the Prime Minister. He's not expected. I don't expect the Prime Minister to understand the science of cloud, radar or cloud or any of that. It is not. But the concern is this. When he discussed this, there must have been the National Security Advisor, there must have been Cabinet
Chief,
Secretary, there must have been the CDS, all the service chiefs, all of them would have been there. And they're all well versed. At least the Air Force Chief would be well versed. The fact is he was not corrected. That is why after 6 months, he feels what he did or what he said was something of a profound statement on understanding of how radar works with cloud. Nobody corrected him. 6 months later, he proudly unveils this in an interview that fayda utha sakta hai aur humne ye kar liya. That is dangerous. That is the issue with this one person who says, I know everything, I will take decision, you guys just listen. Right? And when there are 5 people who know better than you, who all have understanding, their own understanding, but in the structure, that 5 people do not have a space to express or dissent. Whereas you take Congress for that matter, even till recently also, you'll see a lot of people having their own disagreement, taking statements which are sometimes not, people say that, aligned with the party line, so at times in selectively supporting the government, selectively criticizing certain party decisions. So all this has been happening. And that is because the party has come not as a cadre structure. The party has come through a freedom struggle, right? It has come through 1,000 struggles which has happened across the country, then the leadership coming together, identifying a common cause that this is what we are together for, and then that is how it has come. It has not come from a top-down kind of an ideology.
Okay. So, did you get to meet Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition?
Yeah,
how was it?
It's very, very good. It was very...
How did you find him? What was the conversation, if you can reveal?
Now, revealing the conversation won't be nice, but couple of things have stayed with me, and I think I'll be happy to share that. One was that with this, my own concern with respect to the party, right? Whether Congress is the right party or not. Like, we are all there to say that BJP or the current government is not in the right direction, but what is right? So if Congress is the right party, and many a times I was looking at maybe, my own understanding of seeing at certain political leaders and saying that, okay, they were corrupt, these are corrupt leaders, so how can, you be joining with somebody, so a party which has so many corrupt leaders, etc. So it is very, very interesting way of explaining that thing. He had a toffee there, right? And there's a wrapper was there. And the wrapper was slightly dirty. There's a paper around that, which is slightly different. And so he asked, like, what is this? I said, it's a toffee. So now there are 2 ways to judge it, right? Either you can judge it by the wrapper, which is, slightly dirty and it is torn, or you can judge it by the toffee which is inside, right? So if you are aligned with the Congress ideology, then, that sweetness is that ideology, right? Then you will be here. But if you start looking at the wrapper right now, the wrapper, because of such a long, the organization has been there for so long, and there are definitely, if you start analyzing it, this. And then he also explained a lot about Congress, what Congress stands. And then I think I still remember him telling that, but that is Congress for me. What is Congress for you, Kannan, that you will have to discover for yourself.
Okay.
So I think those two things have definitely stayed with me. And
so have you found an answer yet?
No, that's what. For me, Congress is actually a path towards a better citizenry, a platform which can help me towards a better citizenship in this country.
Right. We'll come back to your resignation
Yeah.
since you touched upon that topic in your answer. In 2019, you resigned after the abrogation of Article 370 and whatever the restrictions were imposed in the state. You are not from Kashmir. You were not from Kashmir cadre. You had whatsoever no connection with Kashmir.
Yeah.
And then still you resigned, and now 7 years later you have joined Congress. Many people will think that Kannan had this in mind. Kannan wanted to be in politics. He got an opportunity. He took that opportunity and cashed it.
Yeah.
Why did you resign when you had nothing to do with Kashmir?
No. What is Kashmir? Do you consider Kashmir as part of India?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So if a certain part of the whole country is in complete lockdown, you jail every single leader. Let's assume instead of Kashmir, I'm not from Maharashtra either. Okay, at least at that point of time. Right now, I'm staying in Maharashtra. Consider it as Maharashtra. Maharashtra, for weeks and months altogether, you shut down the transportation, entire transportation. You shut down the internet. You shut down the telephone.
But their explanation was there were national security concerns.
No,
that
was there any emergency or internal emergency or anything declared? It was all being done through Section 144 by the district magistrate. If you have an internal security issue, you will declare.
Right.
You have not done anything. Right. So the whole state was put in lockdown. Your ex-chief ministers, let's say all the ex-chief ministers were jailed. Your leaders, whoever was there, all were being detained. Right. Habeas corpus petitions were not being heard. Right. You were kept around 600 habeas corpus petitions were being kept pending. The Press Council of India chairperson, who's supposed to, actually the press, which is supposed to actually report what is happening there, they had gone and submitted an affidavit in the Supreme Court saying that we have no issues with the restrictions that the government has put on the press. Government is putting restrictions, explicitly written restrictions on the press on reporting in Kashmir, and the press is saying we have no problem with that. So we have, whatever is the truth, whatever is happening there, we don't want to report that. We will report whatever is being asked by the government. Right. So when you have a state which has done this, the government which has done this, you have a judiciary which is completely kind of looking the other way, don't want to listen to the habeas corpus, don't want to listen to the people who want to travel there. You have a press or press council, at least Press Council of India chairperson, I'm not representing him as the entire press, but submitting an affidavit which saying that I cannot, we are okay with the restrictions put there. What happens in a democracy? When this is a very clear sign for me at that point of time that this is not the path that you want to be part of, right? Example, let's say I'm Pune, right? I stay in Pune. I took a bus. I wanted to come to Mumbai. I take a bus from Pune to Mumbai. It was very difficult to get, let's assume it was very difficult to get the ticket. I sat in the bus. But after 5 minutes, I realized that the bus is going to Nagpur. What will you do?
Get down.
Get down. It's as simple. Or will you say it was difficult to get the bus ticket, or the seat was luxurious, the bus was as AC? Why would you get down? Or it is very simple. When you see that, because for me, IAS was not something as I want to become an IAS. IAS was a means to do something else. Right, IAS was very clearly. It was not my childhood dream. It was not in a dream in my, in my engineering or afterwards also. The whole IAS came as because we were teaching in that slum. We were working in a Motorola semiconductor field, engineering, and at the same time I was also working in that slum teaching kids. We found out, in fact, me and my wife, we kind of felt that it will be good to enter the system. Rather than doing all this thing, it is better to enter the system. So that is how we entered the system. That is how the exam thing also happening after 4 years of working. Right? Till then, you would not find me anywhere writing anything about nowhere in IAS. It was not in my dream. The idea was IAS will give a platform to do certain things. Right? Now, that is a direction in which whatever you want to go. Now, when you see that the direction is completely opposite, right? Completely opposite, what would you do? So that part, it had less to do with Kashmir. It had more to do with my belief in what a government is supposed to do and not do. Okay. Nothing to do with that. It wouldn't have mattered if they had done somewhere else also. Right. But if they do the same thing again, again, I would believe that somebody would have the courage to do that. Boss, this is not
So
done.
it was building up for a while, and the Kashmir decision was tipping point. Is this what you have
Tipping
to?
point, yeah, it's very, what do you call, tipping point, maybe you can. But actually, it didn't happen like that, that it was building or...
Overnight
No,
decision.
no. It was more or less, I think I remember on that August 5th, we were having, in fact, I was being given some additional charges of CMD, Smart City and urban development and etc. on that day. Laddus were being distributed and shown that, Kashmir abhi ek ho gaya, has become one. And I remember having my discussion with the administrator who was there, and he was telling, Kannan, see, the decision to do this was the prime ministers or the governments, but who is doing this? This is all, your IAS only doing it, right? And I already used to have a tussle with him with respect of this fundamental rights and constitution, etc. There are multiple cases where I have pushed back, saying that you cannot do this. You cannot go and violate a person's fundamental right. It could be PASA. That, I still don't understand why district magistrates in India have a power to have this preventive detention. Right? We have 6 months, certain states 2 years, certain states 1 year without trial. Right. You can simply, as a district magistrate, you can simply put somebody in jail for 6 months.
But some of these laws aren't brought in by BJP. These are
absolutely.
Congress's legacy. Even UAPA or PMLA that are being talked about right now.
Absolutely, 100%. So PMLA was actually not brought in by
changes that were made.
The PMLA was brought in after the 2001 9/11 thing, right. And there was an FATF, and although the whole thing was happening, and came in actually. PMLA was only supposed to deal with majorly 2 crimes: terror-related financing, this issue, money laundering, and drug-related. Right. It has now become a completely different money laundering tool. Yes. That's a different thing, right? So coming back to, so this fundamental rights discussion. So I remember him, saying that if you were there, you would have started arguing about fundamental rights, constitution, etc., etc. And I was like, and he had said something like, the role of the executive is to execute political will. It's a very simple statement, and it looks very correct on the face of it, right? I didn't mind much. I went back home. Actually, in fact, my wife only asked me this question: Kannan, you guys can arrest anybody or what, right? Because the news was coming in that they put the whole state under a lockdown, and videos are coming of all the... Right. So you can put anybody in jail. Can you guys like everybody in jail? So I felt, no, see, all governments would like to put everybody in jail. That's a natural tendency for whoever is in power, right? But at the same time, there are other institutions in this country. It's not just government, right? There is a media, there is an opposition, there is a civil society, there is judiciary. All of them will come. I still remember that statement that this won't happen. People would say that you cannot just lock down an entire state just because of a government direction. Other parts of the state, actors, other pillars would push back and ensure that the freedom, the rights of the citizens are ensured, right? I still remember having every day this discussion, one or the other, the second and the third, right? So on this prevention, it's actually preventive. I have a very good, interesting analogy. Have you seen Minority Report? It's an English movie, wherein there are these 3 people, who, through 3 aliens or something, who were able to foresee crimes, right? They say that here there is going to be a crime, and then there is a prevention unit, which on this base of this report, they go and arrest people. So district magistrates are actually those oracles. Here we have to foresee crimes, and then we prevent by arresting the people, and without trial arrest, keeping them in jail. Right? And these kind of power, definitely. So these are the powers which should have, in fact, from the very beginning. I don't consider that we became subject and citizen on the day we got independence. No. That's why I still say we got a ticket to this journey. We didn't become immediately. We are still on this journey. After like 60 years, we have to still bring about right to information. Right? So why is this? Or even the case for a preventive detention, why it should be there, it was a lot argued at that point of time also, whether it should be there or not. And the prevailing argument was that, no, it is the state is more important right now, and only then it can continue. But I don't agree to that. I agree a lot of these powers which are completely arbitrary. And now the way it is going, look at this. Now, if you have to have, many states have laws, if you have to have an interreligious marriage, you need district magistrates.
Parent signature,
if you want to have live-in, you need to have district magistrate or whatever the state. Transgender bill is again brought in. What is happening? What is this power?
But some might say that you always have been of a rebellious nature, that the you and system have had love-hate relationship for each other, because when you were in Mizoram, you wrote to SBI chairman that I want an ATM. Then when there were Kerala floods, you vanished and went away anonymously, not letting people work
No.
voluntarily. You received memo for that as well, I think.
Later.
Yeah.
So no. It was not like
some
that.
might say that you don't work in the framework that has been given to you. You want to work outside that framework and then blame the system that it is not accepting it.
No. Actually, I haven't had any.
That is the same argument given for your resignation as well. That you were asked to come in the COVID era and you refused to do it.
COVID happened 7 months after my resignation. I resigned in 2019.
Right.
August. COVID happened when?
2020.
2020. March,
April.
How many months? 7 months. So how does that argument work? So these are essentially, you have to see, where did I serve?
Right.
I served, there has been no premature transfers. I have served all my
You were AGMUT cadre.
I was in Delhi.
Yeah. If you had stayed in service for a while, you could have gone to Kashmir as well, because it has been merged into AGMUT
Absolutely. So in fact, very immediately after that,
yes.
Right. So I was in Delhi. Then I was in Mizoram. Mizoram 1.5 years, I think around 1 year something, I was in Nathial. Now Nathial is a subdivision which is bordering Myanmar. 2015, I suppose, 14-15 I was there. That place does not have, the whole subdivision does not have an ATM.
Okay.
It does not have internet. Right? There is no internet facility, and I think the first IAS officer to be posted there as an SDM. It's always been held by a Mizoram civil service officer, and it was also willingly gone. Right? I was asked in Mizoram also, again I was asked. I said, wherever, this is my country, I'll serve wherever it is. I went, right? And then, in fact, at my rank, I could have got Maharashtra also, any cadre. For that matter. So the choice is also very clear that you would want to serve wherever it is possible, right? Then in Nathial, what can, as a civil servant, what am I supposed to do? So one is, of course, routine SDM things. Then we had a meeting of all the newspaper, panchayat and everybody. And I asked, like, what is your expectation of me? Because now I'm an IAS officer who come here. So they said, can we get an ATM here?
Right.
Okay. Now what? I reached out to the finance, our state government. Then I reached out to the union government finance.
Okay.
So somebody suggested, why don't you write a letter to SBI chairperson? So I wrote a letter to SBI chairperson. Now how is that rebel? She replied saying that, find a space. We got the ATM. We did not have internet.
Right.
We wrote to the GM of BSNL. We had some 48 telephone connections. What he did was he converted 24 of them or 12 of them into internet. So that at least our colleges, we had a journalist hub. So at least the journalist hub, all these at least 12 internet connections could be given. From there, actually I moved to Aizawl as collector. I think just 3 years into service, right? Very early into the service, and Aizawl is a very prestigious post there. Almost like 20 years as a regular non-Mizo collector there, right? It's been a while and essentially why? Because I learned Mizo while in Nathial. So I can speak Mizo. So that is one of the key reasons, and I did my full tenure. And when my transfer was happening from there, Mizoram government wrote to MHA asking that I be put back.
Okay.
How is that? So issue is, you can trivialize it. Right? Once you trivialize it, because how will you delegitimize a person? How will you silence a person? If you want to silence a person, only thing you need to kill is to kill the credibility of the person.
Right.
If you kill the credibility, then my questions you don't have to answer because I'm irrelevant. Right? So this killing the credibility, the attempt was, is there a corruption? Is there something else? Was he running away? Was already action being taken against him? Something must have been there. No, you don't just leave. So you need to have a reason which is acceptable, palatable. This reason is not acceptable. This, you cannot digest it. I don't think many people can digest it. This is simply not acceptable. So we need to have a reason which is acceptable to us, not acceptable to me, but to the rest.
Right.
No, but I cannot live like that. After Mizoram, I came here in Dadra Nagar Haveli. I was MD Discom, collector, GST commissioner, VAT commissioner, excise commissioner, social welfare secretary, labor commissioner and secretary, DIG prisons, urban development, I have 12 charges, the highest number of charges anybody has held.
Right.
If
Right.
why would I give be given that many charges?
Hmm.
That discom, which was running in losses,
Ah.
in 1.5 years was converted into profitable. It continuously made 100 crore profit.
Hmm.
How can you do that if you cannot work within the system?
Hmm.
I am actually not at all disillusioned with the service.
Hmm.
All these charges, all these responsibilities were there, and you could actually learn so many things.
Hmm.
At the age of 30, you don't become an MD of a company in any other person. So I remember
Right.
somebody telling that either you have to be son of an Ambani or something, or you have to be an IAS officer. Only these two people can become. Right? I was also not very clear that, because I don't come from when I took over this responsibility as an MD, I didn't know how a board of this works. Right? I didn't know how discom work, but the only thing is that you are confident enough to learn that thing and then see what are the levers that you need to, and then change. It became profitable in 3 years. After it made 100 crore profit, I think it was privatized. I left, but it was privatized. Same GST, same After that, so it is easy to find a reason, but difficulty is that I cannot give a reason which is acceptable and which is not true.
Right.
I have to give a reason which is acceptable. Kerala floods, you said.
Do you think in our society it has become quite surprising for people that morally people stepping down from a position of power ki mujhe
No,
lagta hai-
I am used. I'll say, I'll just come to that in Kerala. Kerala, we did a lot of things. We were because Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu were like a pharma and all that. We were able to send truckloads of medicines, etc., CSR, other things. But somewhere I felt I as an individual, I haven't contributed. My place where I'm born, which gave me all this, I have not contributed personally. I am not there, right? So that is the purpose on which I wrote, asking that either you give me as a leave or you give me as a tour, and I would like to go and do my completely personally work, right? And I went there and I did that, right?
Right.
And once it was identified, then I came back, right? So I didn't run off. It is
Right.
approved. It
Right.
was applied for. It was approved, and in fact, at that point of time, the government was so happy that they actually gave me tour instead of if it was leave, then I would have to pay my own. Anyway, I did not. I paid from my own only. I did not take any money for traveling or anything. But they actually converted it into a tour, right? So anything and you can actually, if you're in service, you can do a lot of good things. In Mizoram, even now, the last under-17 national champion is from Mizoram, and that kid comes from a badminton academy and the grassroots program that we started. Right, along with Pulela Gopichand. I remember for 1 year chasing Pulela Gopichand, and then he coming there and seeing the talent and saying that, Kannan, let's do something here. And the current junior world championship, the Indian team, there are 2 from that. It's the same, from that very simple thing that we started there. In fact, I'm happy what all you could do in the service, right? Second part, coming to the question of the morality thing, right? When we were teaching in that slum, there were initially we selected 5 kids, and I used to go, 3 of us were there, and most of us used to see, after our job, we used to go for around 2-3 hours. We also used to pull in some 500 rupees or 1000 rupees so that books can be bought and all that. We used to do that. After a while, after 3-4 months, we did this. So I used to be more regular. So I went there. This one kid gets up and asks, sir, you are from an NGO, right? You must be getting a lot of money.
Right.
But you don't give us any money. So what do you do with all this money? Right? I was hurt because I am putting money also, I'm putting my time also, and so that this, the kids
Kid can learn.
So they are now actually doing one of them is an accountant, another is a fashion designer and all that, right? So at that point of time, I remember that question. I came out and I remember calling my wife. She was my friend at that point of time. Later, we
we'll
married.
come to that.
Yeah. So I called her and I said, I'm leaving. I don't want to do this. So she asked me a very simple question that, why did you go there? So I said, because it was necessary, that it was important for them to study. And since they were not able to go out in the school and study, it was important for us to go. So that is the only reason. It was necessary. So then she said, has that necessity changed? So I didn't have an answer. Then the next question was, again, I think sharp, which was that either you accept that you went there for your own ego satisfaction, that, I'm doing something, outside of whatever, some big things, right? Selfless things, which can give an ego satisfaction.
Yeah.
Either you accept you went there for an ego, for your own ego, and which is fine. No, there is nothing judgmental about it. If that kid bruised your ego, so it's no more worth going there. So you can leave, perfectly fine. But if you are saying that you went there because of the necessity, then you cannot leave it because of the ego, right? So I remember going back. This was very profound at that point, and it actually helped me throughout my life where to put my ego, right? Whether it should be here or it should be here. If there is, I'm very clear. If it is for somebody else's benefit, my ego cannot come above that.
Okay.
If it is about my own interest, many a times I put my ego. So I will not go and beg this government for my resignation. That will be my ego, right? But at the same time, if it is for somebody else, I'll put my ego down. That learning came from there. That I do not have a right to put my ego above somebody else or a public interest. I went back. I talked to that kid. I told a small story, like, that's a small slum, and there is a road outside. There is to be this kaka who is to push this cart with a lot of fruits and fruits, vegetables, etc. I told, can you help him one day, right? You can help him one day and just help push the cart. First day, second day, he will say, "Arey, kitne achhe hai na? How good these kids are, they are helping me." Fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, they will be very clear that you must be taking something from there. You must be taking a banana, you must be taking an apple, something, right? And it's not your fault.
Right.
The fault, it's because we do not have a habit of goodness.
Right.
We are not
serving selflessly for a cause or people is not digested easily.
Yeah, we cannot accept. We cannot accept that. That 8-year-old kid could not accept.
Right.
Right? Because somebody told her that ऐसे तो नहीं आते
free में तो कुछ नहीं होता है.
So nobody will do this. Right? When that happened, so I had learned this from a very beginning. My decisions have to be acceptable to me. Nobody else. Right? And I don't consider any of this as selfless. That's also a simple thing.
Okay.
Most of these are very selfish journeys. To be service, to be, this is where I find people find happiness in different things.
Right.
Right. I am in pursuit of my happiness. So that which is very selfish thing. But it need not be the kind of thing that you have decided for others. Right. That's the only thing. This happened in a way because resignation was not accepted or in fact acceptable.
I'll ask about that as well, because recently you tweeted about it and you said it's been 7 years since you have resigned from the services and the government hasn't accepted it yet. Because of that, you could not contest Kerala Assembly elections, which are now a few days away. So what is happening? Why is your resignation not being accepted? What is the deal? Have you had any communication with DOPT or
I would
Home
rather,
Ministry?
I should be the one asking you. Right?
Right.
So the news or the journalists should be asking these questions to the government.
Okay.
Shouldn't the government be answering that why have they not accepted my resignation?
Okay.
Isn't it? The sad part is they know that the government would answer. Right? We have come to terms with this, that even if you ask this question to the government, they will not answer and it is perfectly fine.
Right.
That's essentially the problem. I put this out, right? And if it is a matter of interest even to, let's say, 5 people, it's a very simple thing to ask this, why his resignation is not accepted, right? Can you give, or maybe ask when a DOPT minister is having a press conference, check with him, why is he not
But
accepted?
have you had any word with anybody from Home Ministry or DOPT that
No.
it's been 7 years now, you must have tried sometime ki bhai kyun ho raha hai yaar
No. It's not that I have not tried. I have tried in the sense, what happened was, after my resignation, around 3 months after my resignation, they gave me a memo. Memo had some very frivolous things, like I did not apply for Prime Minister's Excellence Award. Right?
Okay.
That I did not apply for a Prime Minister's Excellence Award. As the MD of a DISCOM, which I had made profitable, which is on record, there was some electric poles to be shifted. And that electric poles shifting did not happen on time. There is from a junior engineer to executive engineer, AE to EE to SC to CE, and then the MD. Right? No, none of them are aware of this issue. They didn't get anything also. But this is just to tell that, sir, you will not let you go that easily.
Right.
But that was not the point. They added all these points so that they could ask one key thing. They put one charge on it, which was that my criticism of this government has affected India's relations with other countries or something.
Okay.
Right? I resigned.
Hmm.
And after resignation, I said the suppression of freedom of rights is not right. So this is the charge they added. I had put it out on Twitter then itself, that all the charges, everything else.
Right.
And which has come after 3 months, not during while I was in service. I had resigned. After 3 months of my putting down paper, 2 to 3 months, somewhere around that frame, they had put this thing, right? Not before. Now, I answered to that saying that I resigned precisely because I can criticize. Right? Now you are saying my criticism is not acceptable because I had resigned, but they had not accepted. So I am still in service.
Okay.
So while being in service, you criticize the government.
Okay.
Right? And if I am criticizing the government while being in service, then it is a violation of conduct rules.
Right.
So that is precisely why I resigned.
Right.
So that I don't get into all this.
Okay.
Now they are saying because that is there for them, they have to accept it. Till the acceptance, I will still continue as
to be in service.
to be considered as a service.
Then they should pay you salary as well.
They are not paying any salary.
They are not paying you
no,
salary.
No
They
salary,
are not...
nothing.
Okay.
I'm not expecting also. I don't. Issue is not that salary thing.
No, I'm saying if they consider you a civil servant till now, then there should be...
No, this is right now. It's a bonded labor.
Right.
It's a complete case of a bonded labor. It's been
because you cannot join a corporate job. You
I cannot join
election.
In fact, multiple opportunities were there to go to a private sector.
Right.
I cannot go to a private sector.
Right.
I cannot be part of a democratic process or a contest elections.
Yes.
Right. So, and they won't pay any salary.
Right.
So, what is this? This is a clear case of a bonded labor. But let them do it. See, I am very clear on this that they did this inquiry. They asked me also, what is your comment? I said, you are being very small with these charges. You should write that my resignation has impacted India's GDP. It has caused the COVID. It has caused the GST collection. Whatever you want to write, I don't care. Right? These are, if you write such random stuff and ask me to comment on it, I gave it in writing that you may go ahead, do an ex parte inquiry and take whatever decision you want to take. I have already resigned. What is the worst that you can do? Right, I've already resigned.
But they might have done that. But after resigning, you were also in CAA-NRC. You were one of the top faces of the movement. You were traveling across the country. You were detained in Mumbai, Agra, Prayagraj. You were detained multiple times. So what was that like? How did you switch from abrogation of Article 370 and then this new law is coming in, so I have to oppose it as well.
No.
So it become the way Prime Minister says that you became Andolan GB for that matter.
No, in fact, my thing started much before the act came. So I had resigned and in fact I was called by PMO to have a discussion whether to resign or not resign, etc.
Okay.
So I went to Delhi. After the discussion, I kind of conveyed that I am going ahead with this resignation. I am not going to come back. Right? I am not taking back this thing. And then that is when I actually went and started, that trip to Delhi is where I met all the TV channels and discussed everything. I came back. I was in Bangalore. This is August. Okay, August 2019. I was there in Bangalore. I had got a couple of requests, one from I think IIM Bangalore to come for a speech or a discussion on the whole thing, why you resigned. And then in Chennai for I think young people for politics or something, they asked me. I said, I'm not to go anywhere, I'm going to sit. I remember because my cousin was there. So she said, why are you not going? I said, no, what to do? I've done my part. I've resigned and I've told that why I resigned for. So they said, but then you have to, then it is just a case of running away, right? You just left the job because you didn't like what your employer did. So you just ran away, right? But if you're actually convinced of this, because for me, it's all discussing, that's how I get convinced. So you should go. I remember going to Chennai, having this conversation about freedom of expression, why it is important. There are a lot of Kashmiris also. I think many Kashmiris were disappointed with my stand because I would keep repeatedly, if the question is like of a self-assertion, right, of the freedom. So then I would say no. See, I am an Indian. I will always have this feeling that, just we'll be together, right? Kashmiris, I will always have that. You cannot expect me to have any other feeling, right? It will always be that feeling. They were disappointed. Some of them were disappointed with that. But there was this girl who stood up and very clearly said that I am 23-year-old. She was from Bengal. I'm from Bengal. Till now, I've been, very clear that I'm an Indian citizen. But now they are telling that they will do something of an NRC. I'm born and brought up here in Bengal.
Right.
Now they're doing NRC. Now, if I'm not a citizen, what rights do I have?
Right.
Right. So this was a question straight to you. Now, if let's say somebody comes and asks you, like, you're talking about some random theoretical stuff. Somebody comes and tells, what rights do I have if I'm not a citizen?
None.
None. Right. Now, what you can do about it? This is, bill came in what, December?
Yeah.
Right. This is, I think, if exact date is September 5, if I'm not wrong. Right. Then I came back. I was consulting to Maharashtra government. It was again at that point of time.
The Uddhav Thackeray government.
No. Uddhav Thackeray government came a month or two later.
Okay.
Something around that.
Okay.
Right. I think it is Fadnavis government only.
Oh.
Yeah. So to a department, to a random department. Forget about which department. Okay. Because I also need to survive. And people also know that I am capable.
Right.
Right. So they were like, okay, तुम्हारा अपनी politics अपनी जगह.
Okay.
कुछ काम तो कर ले. कुछ काम तो कर लो. So I took that question, came here. I remember having this discussion with a couple of, and she's a Hindu, right? Okay, she had come from that 1971 after the partition. There was an influx, and she had come there. Here I came. There were a couple of Muslim friends were there. I was sitting with them, and I said, I was in Chennai, and this happened, and I didn't know what to do. I had one job. I left that. No, I don't know what to do. Also, right? I don't have anything. I still remember telling that I don't have a job to resign from. Also, nothing to do. So these two who were there. Two of them, I said, and the boy who was there, he just opened his WhatsApp and said, Kannan, it's not just a matter of somebody in Bengal. Here in Mumbai also, we are, our WhatsApp groups are like this, which documents you should keep, right? And he said something like, my Dada or Nana grandfather was with Indian National Army, Subhash Chandra Bose, this thing. If you're able to get that document, because at that point of time, people are saying 1971 document will be required. So they were searching for that. So if we get that, then we don't have to worry. Something like that, he said. So I told him, this is still September 8th or 9th or something like that. I told him that, okay, Naeem, if you get that, please burn it. Right? You might be able to give this document, but millions of Muslims or other people who are actually don't have these documents,
right.
Now they'll be under the question that you can.
But when you look back now, it's been 6 years. COVID came in, the
NRC
movement
didn't happen.
Completely. NRC didn't. How many Indian citizens were?
No, it was about the NRC, right?
Right.
NRC didn't happen.
Okay.
Because of the protest and after that COVID, government announced that we are. Initially they said NRC. Right. What did they say on the Parliament? Amit Shah had made the statement that we will do NRC. Right. Right. Within this particular year only we will do NRC. That's very clearly stated. And then he gave the famous chronology speech also. Right. What is the CAA? What is the NRC? Who will go? ये आएगा? कैसे होगा? Chronology समझो. Right. This is not made by anybody else. This is made by the Home Minister of this country. Right.
But the allegation that the government side raised was that you guys were raising this furor for no reason at all. You guys were inciting people. No. Yes.
Listen, this worry was already there. People are asking these questions. Right? Now, if people are asking these questions, should it be suppressed or should it be taken expressed? If these worries are there from a girl in Chennai who's from Bengal, from people who are in, you could go out to Bihar. I had traveled extensively there. Yeah. People are keeping their houses half constructed. They don't know what to do next. They're looking all there for 3 o'clock in the morning. You will see, the Aadhaar and vote, and this thing, because their names are different. The voter ID card, there will be some name given, and there will be some spelling mistake in the Aadhaar. And the worry was that if their names are not same, they could again be asked, right? Yes. The simple question now, I think we'll face SIR here, right? And then we'll see, it's a very much more negligible version of NRC, right? Even in the SIR, look at how many people were taken out of this role. Yeah. Lakhs and lakhs, right? Due to any of their fault? No. Now imagine if citizenship is taken out like that. Right. What will be the impact? Yeah. If your citizenship is suspended, it is just a matter of voting here, nothing else. Imagine if citizenship is done like that. Ultimately, you have to understand, the opposition to CAA is not that CAA will take away citizenship. Right. That is a
CAA combined with NRC.
CAA is a positive legislation. Right. Only thing is that here they provided religion into that. They brought in religion into an otherwise secular citizenship in India. Yeah. Right? Otherwise, it is a positive legislation. Yes. The issue here is why instead of saying that religious, persecuted religious minorities, you could have just simply said that from the neighboring countries.
Yeah.
That would have been a very wonderful law.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of that, you selected arbitrarily certain countries.
And left out
While
Muslims.
you removed Myanmar, while we removed Bhutan, while you removed Sri Lanka, the largest persecuted minority Hindu population is in Sri Lanka.
Right.
They have not been, right? Largest otherwise religious persecuted minorities in Myanmar. We've kept that. Right? So arbitrarily selecting the country, arbitrarily selecting the religions from there, right? Are complete. That is in constitution. It is being challenged. Like, hopefully that decision will come. Right? So CA was about changing the citizenship nature of our country. Right? What it means to be a citizen in this country. Whether if you are a particular religion, do you have a certain right, and another religion you don't have certain rights. Right? This is for the first time being introduced.
Right.
Couple this with NRC, it becomes a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
This is not told by us. This was explained by in the parliament and outside by the Home Minister himself. Right?
Sure.
So then what do you do? After this, I remember having this discussion, and that is when I felt, no, I have stopped, like, this is not, this is something far worse which is going to happen. And 2019, the government had also come with a lot of arrogance, because in the second term, with 300 plus seats, you could do whatever you want. Right? That was the kind of arrogance that the government had come.
Do you think that arrogance has gone down with the
It has come down.
rally right
It has
now?
definitely come down, because the people themselves, in the very next election, people have told that for 400 par to 240. Right? So the arrogance, actually, that was a reality check. That what you are doing and thinking that this is what the whole people would accept, it does not happen like that. Right. So during that time, my understanding was that a political opposition would have been difficult, because I am not from a political party or anything, right? But what is possible? What is possible is a popular opposition, it's a public opposition, right? It is so. My activities, started much before the movement. Right. In fact, by the time I was detained here in Mumbai, by the time I think Uddhav Thackeray government had come, I was detained here in Mumbai. I had already visited some 40 districts. Right. Before that. Yeah. Just to understand, discuss what is this, how it should be. And then we had that large rally in Purnia, then in Mangalore, then in Hyderabad, then all these places. Yes. So this happened because the government was being a complete bully. They could feel that they could do anything and get away with it. That is still going on. Right? Many of that is still going on. But at least now there is a slightly better chance, some sort of a democratic space is there with the opposition also, right, to push it back.
Right. We are running out of time, so I'll just fit in a few questions and then we can end this. Now, your resignation is not accepted. You cannot be in electoral democracy. You cannot contest elections. So what will we see Kannan Gopinathan doing forward? What will you do now? What will you do for Congress party and in general?
No, I'm essentially, see, the contesting part comes from the RP Act. It has nothing to do with my conduct rules. Right. Right. If I contest, let's say I'm associated now with a political party. Now they can start another inquiry on this. That 7 years down the line.
But they can just reject your nomination. They cannot.
Yeah. So that not based on conduct rules. That can happen RP based Act. On representation of people's act. Okay. Right. If they consider me holding an office of profit. Right, whether I am holding an office of profit or whether currently I am with the government service or not, right? Okay. So it will be that discretion. So that, but at the same time, you don't want to have that kind of an uncertainty while going into an election, right? So that is a key reason. This time also, even though even the discussion is even happening that whether I would like to contest or the party would like to consider.
Which constituency was being discussed?
No, constituency specific.
You are from Kottayam.
I brought up in Palakkad and then in Kottayam. Okay. So Palakkad and Kottayam. Yeah. So the discussions were happening. Even the beginning of it only, I told that this issue is there. Okay. If you are able to resolve it in time, then I might be able to. Okay. But if not, then I requested that what is an issue. So I think that now it's some sort of a bureaucratic quagmire that they themselves have created. That inquiry they started. Finally, it went up to the UPSC. UPSC gave a recommendation that there is nothing in this that can prove any of whatever being said. Only thing that can be proved is that he criticized the government. That I wholeheartedly accept. Yes. That precisely why I resigned the service. So, which is what the UPSC said. And after that, they said, okay, maybe his pay scale may be reduced or something. It doesn't matter because I'm not getting any salary, right? What pay scale is there? And that inquiry was also over, I think, by 2021. Right? This matter was over to 2021. Right. But if I understand correctly, and this is again hearsay or from whatever sources I have, it is that MHA is adamant that I should be dismissed.
Okay.
Right? MHA is adamant that I should be dismissed. Now, UPSC, you need the UPSC is generally the which recommends what should be the penalty.
Right.
So everything will go to the UPSC, then UPSC will decide what, not decide, it will recommend. Right? Now, as a disciplinary authority, MHA can go ahead and dismiss me, irrespective of the UPSC. Only thing is that the file has to personally go to the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Right? Because if there is a disagreement between the commission, UPSC, and this is my understanding, I could be wrong here, right? Because I'm not privy. That's why I would rather have you ask this question to the government and get an answer than from me. So hopefully, I think at some point of time, this thing will get resolved. From point of Congress, I think I am now traveling, meeting people, and trying to understand this. I went through a journey. I went through a journey which was, in fact, I used to protest against the UPA, corruption or something.
Were you in Anna Andolan? India against corruption?
Not when it became Anna Andolan, much before that, right? Before Anna Hazare came into the picture, right? So I think there was one of that. Which is also very interesting because I was preparing for UPSC, giving the mains or exams, etc. At that point, there was not even an iota of doubt in my mind that me protesting, which I find to be my right as a citizen, it will affect my dream to become a UPSC or anything. For me, this is very clear that government is not going to come after me because this is my democratic expression.
Right.
That I may not like you. As a political government, but here I want to get into the system, right? I was very clear these two will not affect. Now people are afraid to put something on the Facebook. Now I realize what UPA government was actually at that point. We took it for granted. In fact, my concern is also that I also took it for granted in our hurry that this journey should be faster. Why is it slow? That we took what we had for granted, and suddenly we are seeing right now we are having a rule which says that social media accounts can be taken down for with just a direction from the IT ministry or INB or whichever ministry for that matter. The people are going to self-censorship. So we are going from that expression to a point where government is encouraging self-censorship of the people, right?
But many critics will also say that if you observe the later years of UPA 2012, 13, 14, people were on streets. There were protests happening. There were rallies being taken out. That kind of agitation, that kind of opposition to the government. Of course, we have seen protests like CAA-NRC or farmers' protest here and there. It were pockets of India, we have seen it happen. But there has not been any mass agitation against the government on national level. So people assume that there is no anger against government. Why are you saying?
No, it's a complete... India against corruption was a very localized. I don't know, have you seen the scale of CAA?
Right.
And anti-CAA-NRC protests or even the scale
it was massive in few pockets is what I'm saying. It was the rally, if you say Purnia rally where Kanhaiya Kumar addressed or you were there.
Lakhs of people. Maharashtra, I used to remember even the Shaheen Bagh kind of protest. One district used to have some 80 such spots where the thing was, it was not urban. Thing was, it was not of the urban middle class protest. Right? The protest was much more of a people who could be, it could be the poor, it could be the SC/ST, those who are worried about their documentation. Similarly, the farmers' protest, 1,000 times bigger than whatever the protests that were seen during the UPA time, right? Much bigger, but they are not us, right? So we, us in the sense, we have a tendency, we don't see people like us protesting, right? The engineering, the IT or the urban middle class. We don't see the people like us protesting. So that means there shouldn't be an anger, right? That is precisely because it serves a certain class and it doesn't serve a certain other class, right? It doesn't serve certain other people. The people who are not served are out on their street. They are actually literally there. And also the space for protest has come down drastically. The people who protested, many of them are still in jail without any bail being granted. Right? You take a look at Sonam Wangchuk case. For 6 months, he has been in jail. Right? And after that, he only had to come. So when the space is constrained so much, and then you make that as a yardstick to measure whether there is an anger. It's actually completely the opposite of it.
We'll quickly come to our last few questions. Kerala election, UDF and LDF fighting against each other. LDF has been in power now for 10 years, I guess. What do you see? What do you see happening? Have you been to Kerala? Have you gone for campaigning? What is the mood in Kerala right now?
The mood is there is a huge anti-incumbency against the government, and I think that anti-incumbency will be seen in the results.
Right.
And there is a lot of hope and promise that is also being seen in the Congress leadership that is there.
Okay. 2029. In 2024, BJP was the single largest party, but it was brought down below 272. What is the picture right now across the country? You have been, just like a few minutes ago, you told me that you have been going
Traveling,
around in Maharashtra, and whatever you are seeing, what do you see? What are the few structural or mental changes that have come after the 2024 defeat? Because before 2024, it was a psychological barrier for opposition as well as voters who were voting for opposition parties, that BJP is unbeatable. They cannot be beaten. So after 2024, do you see that perception being changed? And will that reflect again in 2029 with opposition getting more seats or coming to power again? Do you see that likelihood right now?
See, it's I don't consider myself, to predict what could be. The thing is, I would like to work towards it. Right, and see that a lot more people who are actually affected. You can see household debt is now 42% of the GDP.
Right.
It looks like a statistic. It's actually a story in every household. Right, we have really stagnating wages. Rural wages are negative. Right, rural wages. You take 10 years, it's negative. Right, you take urban wages, it is stagnating. Right, so you have a case of stagnating wages and increasing debt. Our inflation numbers show something like a 1% inflation, but you take a look at any of your expenses around, you will see that the inflation is actually much higher. Right? You take any of the UPA Times saw an export growth of 509% in merchandise, right? And it sees around 39% is export growth. Just look at but what we see, make in India, you see the manufacturing. You take a look at the manufacturing. This government started at 15% manufacturing share in GDP. That's a measure that you look at how much manufacturing contributes to the GDP, right? 15%. And they came in with Make in India, said that we are going to make it to 25%, right? And with some magic they did, now it has come down to 12.5%. This is the lowest share of manufacturing that we have in our Indian GDP from 1960.
Okay.
In the last 64 years, we have never seen this. But what is the story that you tell? That we tell the story of an iPhone. We are manufacturing iPhone. We are manufacturing iPhone, assembling rather. Yeah. But the whole manufacturing sector in India does not exist to just serve an iPhone assembly.
Right.
Why according to the government's own target, it was 25. Why has it managed to bring it down from 15 to 12.5 and bring it to the lowest in the whole of why our exports growth has come down so drastically? Why these are all affecting? How is our GDP growth? You can take the GDP per capita income. Yes. Many times we totally discuss about the UPA Times in terms of rights. Per capita income, there was an increase in 2.69 times, right, during the 10 years. If your income had started at 1 rupee, it would have become 2.69 by the end of 10 years. Right now, it is 1.6. Right, in terms of, see, you have to see not just there are people coming in this. So your per capita income growth has completely dropped. So these are all affecting people. What is being suppressing all this is a kind of a narrative which is a more or less a majority minority kind of a politics, right? That some identity is under threat, and that since that identity is under threat, only this party or this government can protect you. So vote for us. And immediately after that, now this government is under threat, and only that particular identity or religion can support. Now vote for us. Right. So irrespective of any other thing, like you take a look at the prices. Now look, I was going to Nashik from here. I was walking through the Chakan area. There are 2 kilometers of line for cylinder. How much are we actually showing? Right. So when we move away from the realities of the people and start buying into the narratives of the government, it can sustain you for a while, but it cannot sustain you forever.
Right.
Right. And I think that change will happen. I'll also work towards it.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Gopinathan, for joining us on
Kannan,
Lokmat
Kannan.
Times. It was nice talking to you. Our viewers will also be much informed after this interaction. All the best for your journey, and we wish to see you again much sooner. So that's all for now. Keep watching Lokmat Times. Please do let us know what you think about this interaction in comments below. Thank you.